Ça va pas, je vais entendre. Okay. So today, as I said yesterday, we will start by proving that the dual duality functor is exact on a multi-ring category. But before that, we need the following result from additive category. So again, we will recall some definition and some result from additive and abelian category. So lemma. So we need the following result from additive category theory. So I will state it, but I will not prove it. So lemma let C be an additive category consider the sequence N'entends plus. Et là? Non. Et maintenant? Non. So consider the sequence. So it's a sequence. It's a general sequence is not assumed to be a short exact sequence. It's just a sequence. Not exact, not assumed to be exact. So you consider one sequence, and then the lemma, the results say that it is exact if and only if for all object M the following sequence induced by the functor Fm equal to OMC M. This functor, this sequence M et Fmi OMC MB Fmg OMC MC. So is exact if only if it is. So you take a generic sequence like that, and the lemmas say that this is exact if and only if for all object M the functor, the sequence induced by this functor is exact. So in other words, this is the same thing to state that this is to prove. If you need to prove that this is exact, then you just need to prove that this is exact for all M. Otherwise, if you know that this is exact, then this is exact for all M. And in fact, so we skip the proof. Skipped, which means we are not doing the proof. Okay. This is well known. Remark. One way mean that the functor Fm is left exact. So one way, this way means that the functor is left exact, but the lemma is also about the other way. And for the other way, we need for all m. Skipped. Well known. C basic book. Okay. Okay. Now. You have the same. Not that we have the same result for the contravariant functor Jm like that, involving the sequence C et M C. So of course I make a mistake. So it's contravariant, so it should be C. C. So contravariant means it's reverse the error. BM C AM. And okay. So this is true also for, so this is true for this functor, but it's also true if the m is on the right. And then the functor is contravariant, so you need to reverse the arrows. Here is A, B, C. Here it's C, C, B, A. But otherwise, this is the same statement. Okay. So, okay. So now we can come back to multi-ring category. So recall that multi-ring category is it's a weak version of multi-fusion category, multi-tensor category, sorry, where the rigid assumption is replaced by exactness of the tensor functor. So let us come back to multi-ring category proposition. So let C be multi-ring category. So this is the proposition I stated at the end of last course. So we've left. So you have a multi-ring category where the left dual always exists. Then the dual functor is exact. Then the contravariant functor dual functor is exact. And this is the same for the right dual. I mean, yeah. So by same for right dual, I mean if the multi-ring category has right dual, then anyway. So idem for right duals and like that. Anyway, so proof of that. So the proof of that will involve the previous lemma, so the Hom space. So we will write a sequence with Hom space. So we want to prove the following. We want to prove the dual functor is exact. So what we want to prove exactly is, so if you have a short exact sequence like that, be an exact sequence, we need to show that this sequence, so contravariant, is also exact. So we want to use the previous lemma. So we will need to consider some generic object M. Here we will call this generic object T. So let T be an object of C. So we will consider the sequence. So we will consider the following sequence like that. T star Hom C T Y star Hom C T X star. So we will consider this sequence and the one from the one for this. So from this is for this this functor, and the same and the one for this functor. So we will consider two sequences. So this sequence will appear. So these sequences will appear at the end of the proof. So before that, before that, by definition of a multi-ring category, and I mean by using the B exactness, so we know we have this sequence is exact. So by exactness of the tensor functor, we know that we can tensorize this sequence by t on the left or on the right, and this remain exact. So you have a 0 x tensor t, y tensor t, z tensor t. And this one, 0 t tensor x, t tensor y, t tensor z are, both are exact too, because the tensor functor is by exact. On m'entend pas. Maintenant, on m'entend pas? C'est bon. Okay, so they are both exact. We will work on this exact sequence, and we will come back to these two. Okay. So these two are exact, and so are the following two sequence by previous lemma. So we will apply previous lemma. So previous lemma say that you have something exact. Here we will apply, and then we get something exact for some m. Here m will be 1, the unit object. So by previous lemma with m equal 1. So you have like that. So si 1 x tensor t, si 1 y tensor t, si 1 z tensor t. So it's exact, and so you apply with the contravariant si t x1 si, and then it's contravariant, so I should put z t y1 si t x1. So these two are exact also by the previous lemma. Then so are, yeah. Then so but now we will apply the natural adjunction isomorphism. So natural adjunction isomorphism is an isomorphism. You can move x on the right by applying the dual. We say the link between dual of object and adjoint of functor. So there is a natural isomorphism. So by considering the natural adjunction isomorphism, the following must be exact too. Here, so you apply a natural isomorphism here. So this is exact. You apply the natural isomorphism, you get something exact. So we will move this here, this here, this here, and we will move this here, this here, and this here. So like that, 0, si x star t, si y star t, si z star t for the first, and the second, si t z star, si t y star, si t x star. So they are exact. And now they are exact too for all t. For all t in C. So we can apply again the previous lemma. Now we come back. We have something true for all m here. We can come back here. And we need also to apply with the contravariant functors. So we can come back. So here it's a exact sequence of abelian group. Now we can come back to exact sequence of object of the category by applying the lemma. So okay. Okay. Then by previous lemma, because it's for all t, this is important for all t. My previous lemma, the following are exact too. So you apply the previous lemma on the first. And here the first is a contragradient. So you have z star, y star, x star 0. And the second is 0, z star, y star, x star. So you apply the lemma that you get that. The lemma for this one, you get this one. Exactness. And so you can combine by combining the two, you get that Z star, Y star, X star is exact. And yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to prove. The dual functor is exact. And so the same proof for the right case. So if you are in a multi-ring category, with right dual, then this functor is exact also. Okay. So okay, so now now we need, so the next theorem about multi-ring category will be, for the next result, we again need to recall or to introduce some notion from abelian category. So now we want we will introduce a notion of projective object, and we will also mention the notion of injective object, because this is just a dual notion. And we will define the notion of notion of a finite abelian category. So we already defined notion of finiteness, but with some semi-simple assumptions when we define fusion category. But in general, there is a more general definition of finiteness involving the projective object. And then what we want to prove in a multi-ring, in ring category, is that a finite ring category with left dual is a tensor category. So a tensor category is a ring category which is rigid, which means where there are left and right dual. But the proposition says that if you have left dual, and if it is finite, then you automatically have right dual, so it's automatically rigid. So okay, so so again, we now need to introduce or recall, if you already know abelian category theory, some notion from abelian category theory, and the notion of projective and injective object. So what's the point of this object? So we already mentioned that so in an abelian category, so that in an abelian category, C. The functor fx, so using the Hom space, the functor involving Hom space, and the functor like that on the other way are left exact. So this was one way of the previous lemma, and we use that in the proof of the previous proposition. So they are left exact. Not exact in general, only left exact. And the point of injective and projective and injective object is that there are objects such that, object X and Y, such that these functors are left are complete, are exact, not just left, but exact, left and right exact. So you will have projective for that and injective for that. So definition. Definition. So an object P in an abelian category is called, in abelian category C, is called projective if, so Fp, if the functor, if Fp is exact. So Fp, this is this one. Okay, F, G. Okay, so projective. And an object, so an object I, so an object I in an abelian category C is called injective if Gi is exact. So the same involving the other functor injective. Okay. So maybe confused, I will write like that. This one, this one, this one, this one. Okay. So now, if you have, so an object can be non-projective, but there is a universal way to make a projective object from a non-projective object, from any project, for any object. So definition. Let X be an object. So the universal way to make a projective object from X is called the projective cover. A projective cover of X, so is a projective object. Ah, mais j'ai un stylo. So is a projective object P, Px in C together with epimorphism. So like that. P from px to x. So recall that epimorphism should be understood as epimorphism should be understood as the generalization of surjective. So the definition is Cocker equals 0. And it's X is a quotient object of Px. It's a quotient. So together with an epimorphism and which is universal, which is universal in the sense that so there are always so you have px, you have x, you have p. So if in the sense that if there exists another projective object and an epimorphism, then you get an epimorphism H from P to Px such that the composition such that the diagram commute. So in other words, if there exists P projective and G from G epimorphism, so and G from P to X epimorphism, then there exists H from P to Px epimorphism with P composed with H equal G. Okay. So universal. And so this is a projective cover. So the projective cover do not always exist, in fact, a priori. So in general, you cannot get a projective covering. But if it exists, if a projective cover exists, then it is unique up to isomorphism. So here the isomorphism can be non-unique up to. So I don't specify up to a unique isomorphism. It's just up to isomorphism. And same thing for so this is projective cover, and dually you have the injective. So not injective cover, but injective. I don't know how to pronounce that. Injective hull. So you have the dual analog definition. Let X in C an injective hull so this is exactly the same as before, but you reverse every arrow everywhere. Of X is an injective object IX in C together with, here you replace epimorphism by monomorphism. So monomorphism I from X to X. So monomorphism, the keyword as before is injective care I equals 0 or subobject. X is a subobject of IX. Okay, so universal in the sense that, so as before, you have you have X, you have the map I. So you draw the same picture as before, but you reverse the arrow. And for all injective object I with a monomorphism J, you have another monomorphism H, such that the diagram commutes. So if, in other words, if there exists I injective J monomorphism, then there exists H monomorphism such that H composed with I equal to G. Okay. And as before, so you have the same. We have the same remark, same as before. Same as before. So the remark, if it exists, it is unique. Okay, so now the pause.
Recording.
Okay. So sorry, we got a technical problem. So we got technical problem with internet connection. Okay. So we define the notion of projective cover. So the notion of projective object. The notion of projective object is mean that the functor, this functor is which is left exact in general, then it's also right exact for a projective object. An injective object is about this one. And if you have any object, you can make a projective object called the projective cover. So it does not always exist, but if it exists, it is unique. And same thing for injective hull. Okay. So these remarks are not that important here. You can just write it like that. Okay. So now we can provide the more general definition of the notion of finite category, finite abelian category, K-linear. So definition. So a K-linear abelian category. Category C is said to be finite if okay. So before so I will give two definitions of finite. One involving a category of A module on K algebra A, and another definition more intrinsic, which do not involve any algebra. But in the literature, you have two equivalent definitions. So the first definition, but we will mainly use the second definition. So a category is said finite if it is equivalent to a category of A module. No, not of A module. The category A mod of finite dimensional module over a finite dimensional K algebra. So this definition is not that satisfying because the algebra A is not canonical. Such A is not canonical. The category C determine it just up to it's canonical up to Morita equivalence. So just it determine. So determine just its Morita equivalence. It's Morita equivalence class. So I don't define what is Morita equivalence, but here this means that this is not canonical. So then we provide an equivalent definition of finite, which is intrinsic, which mean do not involve any algebra or something. So definition linéaire abélienne catégorie C is finite if so I will not prove that the two definitions are equivalent. This is well known. We only need the second one. So if you have four assumptions, 3 if C has finite dimensional Hom space and only by mean as only finite dimensional Hom space. 2, so this means all the Hom space are finite dimensional. Every object of C has finite length. And recall that this notion involves Jordan-Holder sequence. Jordan-Holder. This is a sequence related to involving Jordan-Holder. Okay. Finite length. So we already defined finite length in some previous course. Third assumption, C must have enough projective. Wait a minute. Wait. Alors, c'est quoi? Coupe quelqu'un qui a... Hein? C'est bon? Has enough projective. Okay. Enough projectives. Peut-être quelqu'un qui avait une question. If you have a question, you can write on the chat. So what's the meaning of enough projective? Which means that every simple object of C has a projective cover. And that's why I need to introduce the notion of projective object, because of this third assumption for the general definition of finite. And the last assumption, the assumption I mentioned before in a more restrictive case, there are finitely many isomorphism class of simple object. Isomorphism classes of simple object, which means there are only finitely many simple objects of two isomorphisms. So remark, we already mentioned the notion of finite in the semi-simple case. Semi-simple case where we only need for, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, we only need this one and this one. Yeah. And if I guess, but if I'm not mistaken, in the semi-simple case, we only need these two. I hope it's okay. Otherwise, maybe you need some additional assumption. But if I guess last time I forgot. So last time I may have forgot the second assumption. I forgot. I just say finite means finitely many simple objects, but you also need the object of finite length. You don't want to have infinite dimensional home space. So I guess 2 imply 1 if you are in a semi-simple. Anyway. But anyway, the real definition in general is that. And if you assume, if you have some extra assumption, maybe you can. Ah, une question. One question. Does every simple object as projective cover imply that every object has projective cover? I guess the answer is no in general, but it should be true in the semi-simple case, I guess, because semi-simple means that every object decomposed into simple objects with a direct sum. So in the semi-simple case, that should be true, but I expect this is not true in general. And in fact, according to the definition of enough projective, mean every simple object has projective cover. Otherwise, this would be if this implies that every object has projective cover, then you just say that. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm not sure, but I expect it's not true if you don't assume semi-simple. Okay. So that's all for the notion of finite. Okay, now we can come back to so we can come back to multi-ring category, and in fact to ring category. So let us come back to multi-ring category. So the answer I provided to the question, I am not 100% sure. So I should check. I will check that later, and I will. If I say something wrong, I will correct myself. But you can also check yourself if you find it. You can put on the chat on the WeChat group. Okay, so let us come back to ring category, and now we will state that you assume not a multi-ring category, but a ring category. So the home space from one, the unit object to itself is reduced to the field. So a finite ring category C with left dual. Là, il y a encore un truc. Any counterexample. Any counterexample of but I am not that much expert of category which are not semi-simple. My area of research is a category which are fusion categories are all semi-simple. So I guess if you look into a category which are not semi-simple, you will find a counterexample. But I am not that expert on this point. So if I find also counterexample, I will mention that later. Okay. So a finite ring category C with left dual is a tensor category. So which means it also has right dual. So if you are a multi-ring category, you assume the home space from unit to itself is reduced to the field, and if you assume it's finite, then the existence of left dual implies the existence of right dual. So which means it is rigid, so it's a tensor category. So we will start to prove that. Maybe we will have no time to finish, but so the proof will involve several claims and several lemmas, several intermediate lemmas. So maybe we will go up to some the first claim. So the proof. So we already know. Il n'y a pas d'autres questions. We already know that. So the dual functor so his face is full, which mean and faceful, which mean surjective, injective, home space. exact. No, it is exact. We just proved that. And it is monoidal. Monoidal. It's a monoidal functor. So because of that, we can, so it, because of that, the dual functor deal with the Frobenius-Perron dimension. So here, I need to introduce the notion of Frobenius-Perron dimension for a finite ring category. So we defined that before for a fusion ring. So fusion ring is just a ring, it's just a kind of combinatorial object out of category. But the notion of Frobenius-Perron dimension exists for a finite ring category. So I will not go into the details here. But the fusion ring, you have a basis corresponding to the simple object. And the Frobenius-Perron dimension is just you map the simple object to some positive number, and then you extend that by linearity. So here we need here the notion of Frobenius-Perron dimension, denoted FP-dim. We already defined it for fusion ring. Fusion ring. So it's, yeah. So we will assume so to each simple object, we will assume you can map naturally in some sense the positive number. Yeah, so we claim so without proof that it is defined here, mapping simple object to positive number. Positive number. And that and we assume that what we need FP-dim of X star is equal, so this is invariant by the dim of X, invariant by dual. What we need to prove here, so let us prove. So this is we claim that this is assumed. I will not go into the details about Frobenius-Perron dimension. I already mentioned that for fusion ring. We assume there exists such a map like that. So let us prove that the dual functor send simple object to simple one. So this will be the lemma. This will be the lemma we want, the intermediate result we need for the proposition. So So we need some preparation. We need to prepare the lemma with some notation. So it's intermediate lemma in the proof of the proposition. So let some notation, let D1 less than D2 less than dr be the list of possible Frobenius-Perron dimension of simple object of C. So let big OC denote the isomorphism, so denote the simple object up to isomorphism. Isomorphism classes. Yeah, representative. The problem here is that this is your isomorphism class, and then you identify an object with this class to simplify the notation, but it's a bit confusing. Isomorphism class representative. So you fix by you pick one representative if you want to be correct. If you want to identify a class with one object. The representative of simple object L and big O index I of C, so a subset of that, the one with Frobenius-Perron dimension equal to di. So you can have two non-equivalent, non-isomorphic simple objects with same Frobenius-Perron dimension, but you fix this Frobenius-Perron dimension like that, so they are all, this is strict, everywhere strict. But in each class like that, correspond to the one with this dimension, and you can have several one here, which are not isomorphic. So you denote this class like that. Yeah. So I equal 1 to R. So now the lemma. So let L in this class of Frobenius-Perron dimension di, then L star is simple. So which means the dual of a simple is simple, and there exists L prime in this class, the same class, such that L is isomorphic to L prime star. Which mean that, in other words, yeah. Yeah. So, in other words, which, yeah. Yeah, this is not exactly that. In other words, the dual functor induce a bijection on on this set, on this finite set. These sets are finite because this is this is assumed. This is a finite category. Anyway, so the proof of that is we will prove that the dual functor induce a bijection in this finite set. In fact, we will prove it induce an injection, and so by finiteness, it will be surjective. So, so now, proof. So if L star is not simple, so you assume we make a proof by contradiction. If L star is not simple, then there exists. So then, but what's the definition of simple? Simple means the only subobjects are wait. The only subobject are 0 and itself. So if it is not simple, you have a subobject. If you have a subobject, this means there is a non-zero map. There is a there exists a non-zero map. Okay. Non-zero map to L star, and because everything is finite here, you can assume K to be simple. Non-zero map with K. If it is not simple, you continue, but because everything is of finite length, because we assume finite, so you must reach a simple object. So you can assume K simple and so one property of the Frobenius-Perron dimension is that if you have a subobject, then the Frobenius-Perron dimension of the subobject is less than of a simple. Yeah, your subject is less than the object itself. So with K simple and the Frobenius-Perron dimension. So wait. Yeah, and Frobenius-Perron dimension of K less than the Frobenius-Perron dimension of L star, which, as we claimed, is the Frobenius-Perron dimension of L, so di. So you have something less. So you see, you will be able to apply some induction here. To apply the induction, we need the first step. So if I equal 1, then the Frobenius-Perron dimension of K is less than D1, but D1 is the smallest one. So contradiction, which means that the assumption is false for I equal 1. The assumption is L star is not simple. So this functor is stable on I, the O1 of C, or I equal 1. And so we have L star is what it's simple. So we prove the first part of the lemma for I equal 1, but we need the other part to apply the induction for I equal 1. And for that, we will claim the following. We will prove the following claim. So claim if the dual functor is stable on OI of C for some I, but we know it is true for I equal 1, then it's a bijection. Then it's a bijection. Yeah, and a bijection. If it is a bijection, then there must exist a L prime. This is So this is what I said. In other words, induce bijection on O I of C for all I. For all I. So then this reduced to prove, we are reduced to prove the claim. And then once the claim is proved, we have the first step of the induction I equal 1, and then it's reduced to to prove that that is stable on AI by induction. So what time is it? 5 minutes. So let's start to prove that. Maybe we will have no time to finish to prove this claim. Proof of the claim. Let L1, L2 in this class, such that L1 star equal L2 star, or isomorphic. So there, we already know so what we know. Wait. Want this to be a stable. What we know. NL is simple. Oh. So if, yeah. So then, okay. So then L1 is isomorphic to L2. So in other words, the dual functor is injective on the object, on the simple object. So why? Because by Schur lemma, So I am confused. Yeah, by sure lemma. So they are isomorphic. So first, because si L1 star, L2 star is different from 0, there. Yeah, I have no time. I will do that next week. So the idea is to apply the. So we will see that next week. I will prove that next week. The idea is to apply Schur lemma and the fact that the dual functor is full. So you know that the Hom space here is non-zero, but the dual object, the dual functor is full, so you can come back to Hom space between L1 and L2. But L1 and L2 are simple, so by Schur lemma, the Hom space is 0 or isomorphic, composed by isomorphic. So it is non-zero by the fact that the dual functor is full. Then it is non-zero, so then there is an isomorphism here. So then L1 is isomorphic to L2. Yeah, but I have no time to write that, so we will see. We will finish that next week. We'll finish next week.